And welcome to the Dakota Housing Network. I'm Greg Larson, along with
Dave Flohr
and the chairman of the board,
Hello,
Jim Walsh,
Jim
keeper of the Grail.
Jim just said it was getting windy.
Getting windy, but
and
it's
I don't
sunny.
know if that was he's talking about you and I,
Certainly,
in the studio,
absolutely,
or if he meant outside.
I'm talking about that wind advisory.
And of course,
okay.
We are.
You're still not clarifying if you're talking about us.
Actually, that just popped
Or
up on
the-
my phone.
Okay,
The wind advisory.
Another one. We've had a lot of those.
So I'm beginning to think that our other co-host,
He's-
actually tri-host,
Well,
Joe Sheehan,
Maybe he's back in Florida.
is he a bit like Santa Claus? Is
Comes
he
only
real?
once a year.
Isn't he real?
well, you know what's happened.
he drops little giblets of wisdom on us about once or twice
Joe,
a
if
year.
you're out there, no, you know what's happened. I think he's always out in search of the lowest interest rates.
I think so.
He's having a little trouble
He's
finding
working
them.
harder.
Oh.
He's working harder.
He's got to be out there working,
A
pushing
sign
it
of the
24/7.
times. Yes.
Yeah,
From
we're,
a month ago,
we're creeping a little bit.
it's tough. So
Not to panic, though.
let's not to panic, but let's take a look at that. Huh?
All right.
Okay. All right. Freddie Mac survey, as always, we take a peek at that on the Dakota Housing Network. Freddie kind of got it right this week. Last week they basically their survey ends too soon, and
Yeah.
they didn't catch the larger jump last week. But this week ended today. Their survey ended today, theoretically, but actually I think it ended 2 days ago. But the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged 4.3% with an average half a point. That is up from last week when it averaged 4.16%. And a year ago, the 30-year was at 3.96. So they've moved up.
Yeah.
Quarter of a point from last year, a little bit more than a quarter of a point. The 15-year averaged 3.52 with an average of a half a point. That's up from last week when it averaged 3.37, so the 15-year went up a little bit more. But last year the 15 was at 3.22, so that's basically only up a quarter from last year at this time.
Right.
So rates are still good. Now, we've heard a lot. Obviously, the Fed raised their overnight funds rate 25 or a quarter percent last week. A lot of news. Boom, boom. Okay, everybody's excited. Mortgage rates have gone up in the last month, basically since the election.
Right.
They've been creeping up. And last week, the Fed announced they did their quarter of a point increase, and then they kind of signaled in their discussion when Janet Yellen came out afterwards and did a little press conference that they expect 3 hikes next year, and maybe 4 was kind of what people were parsing the language as, because you got Fed speak. When Alan Greenspan was in there, they termed the coin Fed speak, meaning he said stuff and nobody could understand exactly what it meant, and it took like a week to figure it out after you parsed all the words. But anyway, that's kind of what it came down to. Is the Fed was looking at 3 hikes and maybe even 4. So then the market kind of went, oh my gosh, and they went up a little bit more and kind of went a little bit ballistic. Okay, now to temper that, Fannie Mae came out. Their economists came out, and they said they don't see that. They don't think the economy is good enough where the Fed's going to be hiking it 4 times. They actually only see 2 hikes next year. And what is interesting, though, is take this with a grain of salt from Fannie Mae, because
It is Fannie Mae.
it's Fannie Mae, and they're forecasting. This comes from Mortgage News Daily. Fannie Mae is forecasting that rates will rise to 4.2% by this time next year. Okay, we just said the Freddie Mac survey said the average this week was 4.3. This story just came out today.
Okay.
So they're both on top of each other. Once the rates will rise to 4.2% by this time next year, and I think Fannie Mae is probably talking about the average for the year, and that's up from an average of 3.6% in the fourth quarter of 2016, or 3.8%, excuse me. So we're already the average for the fourth quarter of 2016, which is almost done now, has averaged 3.8%. So that's quite a bit higher, or we're quite a bit higher than that now,
Right.
Almost a 0.5% higher. So there is a big difference there. So this will be interesting to see who's more correct, Fannie Mae or the Fed itself, who actually is going to hike the rates. They said they were going to do 3 times. Fannie says only 2. So we'll find out.
We will see.
The battle of the economists, I guess, is what that is.
Well, yeah, and we have with that the fourth quarter report from the National Association of Realtors. Now, we've talked about, this is a compilation of stuff, and it's called the Confidence Report.
Okay.
And they survey home buyers, home sellers, realtors, economists at the beginning of the quarter, and then they kind of put all this together, and then they compare it to what's happened during the quarter. And right at the end of the quarter, they come out with what's called their confidence report.
Okay.
And of course, we talked about Dr. Lawrence Jung, and at some point we're going to have him on this radio show. We're still trying to find a time. He says that the interest rates will finish the year at somewhere between 4.4 and 4.6%.
Okay. So he's way above what Fannie Mae's predicting.
Well, that's end the year.
The end of the year.
The annual average, he thinks actually we're going to have a decline in interest rates through, the buying season, which is May through September.
Yeah, okay.
But he thinks we'll end at 4.6 with are you ready?
Okay.
4.2 average.
4.2 average, so pretty close to what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, we've got pretty much agreement with the economists.
Yeah.
We'll see how they do.
So then the question is, what does that mean to you, John home seller, John home buyer?
Rates are still pretty good, and if you're going to want to buy a house, it's still a good time to buy a house.
Yeah, truth is not much.
Really, the rates, what they have gone up is probably costing somebody about buying a median-priced home in Bismarck, Mandan might be costing you $10 a month in a house payment.
Yeah.
Is about it.
Yeah, the truth is, overall, folks, as interest rates climb, housing costs tend to climb a little bit with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the same payment, you buy a little bit less house. So as we're saying, at this point, $10 a month. So if your maximum payment you can afford is, let's just say, $1,000, well, now you can buy $990 worth of house as opposed to
1,000.
Yeah,
1,000.
Okay. So really not that much. The bigger issue for home buyers is inventory.
Yeah, you could negotiate that $10
Yes, you
difference in
can.
price, can't you, Greg?
Yeah.
You could get that done.
I could help.
Yeah, I think most people say if it came down to it, you $10 less than the listing price. Okay, we'll take that one. Yeah. So anyway, it's still a good time.
It really is. It is a good market in Bismarck.
Yeah.
2016
rates.
We will have. We might be able to fudge. We have one more show this month.
Yeah.
We might be able to fudge some statistics, but in January we'll be able to take a look at how 2016 did. It's going to turn out to be a little better, not dissimilar to 2015, which was a very good year.
Okay.
And as we leave, we're leaving with
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry.
Run, Rudolph, run.
Run, run, Rudolph. Randolph ain't too far behind.
Right now, 34.
News headlines and weather together, live on Super Talk 1270.
My favorite Christmas song of all the ones I've recorded. I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue.
Okay, we really shouldn't talk during this.
I'm just saying.
We can't compete with Elvis.
That's right.
And Blue Christmas.
Delay this one just a little bit.
Yeah, let that play, man. Elvis, Blue Christmas. That was it's a classic.
That was the
is one
version
of
from the
all-time
TV
greats.
special.
The TV special.
He was
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
So we have a.
Awesome, man.
Was it 4 o'clock this morning? Is the first day of winter?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Was it today or yesterday? I thought it was yesterday.
21st, I think.
Yeah,
21st.
Okay.
Yeah, it was yesterday.
So it's officially winter.
Yes.
Today's the first full day of winter.
Yes. There you go. Okay. So that surprises you, Greg?
No, I'm just.
All that other stuff we had a couple weeks, that was all prep.
Yeah.
That was just prep
Right.
work.
Well, more importantly, today the days start getting longer again.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
We get a little more sunshine.
How much
if we have
extra sunshine do we get today? Does anybody know?
Like a minute and a half.
Well, there we go. I can
I'll take it.
I can do something in that minute and a half. I'm not sure what.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm gonna go out about what time would be optimum? Maybe about like 5:30, 5:22.
Not for a couple of months. Maybe 4:30.
With dark.
You want to catch the sunset, or you want to be in the sunlight?
Well, okay. So it depends.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So since we have not quite gotten back to real estate today, what do you think happened? We actually talked about this, so it's cheating, But
Okay.
What's a big deal that happened today?
I forgot already.
The first gorilla born in captivity.
Oh, yeah.
1956. Colo was born in the St. Louis Zoo.
All righty.
St. Louis. I
St.
did
Louis
not
Zoo.
know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Something else happened today that's important to my family.
All right.
Yep. Back in this day in 1775, the Continental Congress created a Continental Navy.
Ah,
Their first naval officer was a traitor to the British. He left. He was a commodore in the British Navy, and he left to become an admiral in the Revolutionary Navy.
is that
Okay.
Commodore Barry?
No,
Oh,
no. His name was Israel Putnam.
Israel
Called him
Putnam.
Old Put.
Old Putt.
And he was a traitor. There was a price on his head.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that's significant is he is a direct line great whatever grandfather of mine on my mother's side.
Wow. We're with, I don't know, what are we with? We're with traitor and a hero. I guess.
Can't go to England.
Yeah.
Like it in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So the king wanted his head.
King wanted him pretty bad because
Yeah,
he had a lot of
okay.
secrets that
Okay.
they probably didn't want shared.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Are
you
we
go.
back? Can we go back to housing
Please.
related stuff now?
Please, because
Okay.
I've done my bragging for the day.
All right. Good. It was very nice bragging. That's very interesting. Old Putt. Oh, we have a new name for you now.
Well, everybody's related to somebody famous if you go back far enough.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I should look.
Yeah.
I don't know if I am or not.
I'm related to Grace Kelly, apparently.
Really?
We're like fifth cousins or something.
Jim, I would have. Now that you say that, absolutely.
For all the damn good it's done.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I can see it too.
Brent Somberg won't return any of my calls.
Yeah. Oh man.
I keep calling him up. Hey, cuz, let's get together.
Yeah. Oh.
Do something. Hang out.
Yeah. Do some casino crawling.
Yeah, let's go to Monaco for the
Yeah.
winter here. Okay. Okay, a little mortgage stuff here. Okay, we have a new president,
We do.
and he's
I've
appointing a whole
heard.
bunch of people into
Yep.
that you
Yeah.
wouldn't think should be appointed. Ben Carson, neurosurgeon,
We like that.
as director of housing and urban development.
The National Association of Realtors likes that.
I like that. I
I understand he
think it
has
could be
actually
interesting.
reached out to a lot of the realtors.
Yeah,
He's actually called them up and
had
says, look,
he's done some random calls, but he has initiated 3 calls to the National Association of Realtors.
Okay.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah. Well,
Normally you call him and you wait in line.
Yeah.
you said he came to NAR
Yeah.
offices to meet with
Yeah.
them rather than them having to go to him.
Yeah, so
that's pretty
we're
nice.
pretty excited
So
about
you
it.
got Dr. Carson. You got other guys that you wouldn't think. Rick Perry, who wanted to get rid of the energy department, is going to be the energy secretary, and
Well, maybe he'll get his
he
wish.
might. Well, he got a little control over it, maybe. But Trump is a little bit outside the box here. Well, one of his advisors on regulatory reform, Carl Icahn, and Carl is he's a. What is he? He's into energy and whatnot. He's a rich dude.
Mm-hmm.
He made a lot of money, Carl Icahn. Well, he's just an advisor. He's not taking any money. He's not on the federal payroll or anything. He's just an advisor to Mr. Trump. And on regulatory reform. And there's been some talk. I think Trump's Treasury Secretary said, "Let's get rid of Dodd-Frank, or Frank Dodd, as we like."
As we like to say it here.
A lot of
here.
people thought it was going to be a shoo-in anyway with the
Yeah.
new administration.
And Carl Icahn says, no, hold off. He doesn't want to repeal Dodd-Frank. What he's looking for is we just need to scale it back.
Okay.
Let's just kind of not take it down a few notches, because one of the things with something as big as Frank Dodd was, massive regulation that affected the financial industry, from auto loans and payday lenders to the big banks.
Yep.
Affected everything. We created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which we talk about a lot
Right.
here. And really what the industry is kind of saying is, well, wait a second. We don't want to repeal this because we expended a lot of money to get into compliance with it.
Right.
Plus, a lot of it's good, okay stuff. It's not bad. It's things that we probably should be doing,
Yeah.
and it's okay to have it down. Yeah, you have to do this. But I think what the industry and what the Trump administration will be looking for is let's just stop with new rulemaking under the law, and let's look at where we can actually scale this back, give a little bit of regulatory relief, as they call it. And I think the realtors would be on board with that. I know the banking industry would definitely be on board with it. So that'll, I think a lot of people assume, boy, Trump's going to get in and regulations are going to go out the window. Well, Carl Icahn is certainly not a government dude.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. He doesn't think it's so bad. You just got to tone it down a little bit. And so I think a lot of angst about that Trump is just going to throw everything out the window, and I don't think that'll actually happen, at least on this aspect with Frank Dodd. So it will be interesting to see what occurs in the next year with this, because they have come out and said, that he does want the CFPB to just like stop new rulemaking for now. And of course, there's dispute about the CFPB anyway on whether our friend Richard Cordray will become a instead of one person who has unlimited power will now become a commission instead of him. And we had him on the show here. Joe did, and
I remember that. Sure.
Yeah, and Jim was on with him, and with Senator Heitkamp, and he was a very, very nice guy, I think, on the show, and did his usual.
We have the clip on the website. It's on our podcast.
It's on our
page.
website. So that'll be an interesting to see. Okay, anything else you got, Greg? What anything cooking in the realtor world?
Well, I can tell you that the confidence, going back to that, and folks, this is important because this is the whole trend for a quarter. And they're saying that the existing sales are expected to close in 2016 up 3.3% higher than in 2015. That's existing homes.
Mm-hmm.
New homes, homes that are just built, will grow roughly at about 2%. And that's pretty slow. And we need more new homes. People are confident. 60% of the people think it's a good time to buy, and this is nationwide. It's somewhat slower in the Northeast, as we have talked about, because home prices have skyrocketed and there's no inventory. 65% of the people think it's a good time to sell.
65%, okay.
Yep, think it's a good time to sell. There is an issue with that. The concern is that if prices keep going up, interest keeps going up, people with homes to sell may decide to sit.
Because they don't want to pay to move up.
Okay. Right, correctly.
Right.
So that could put some downward pressure on it, and let me just read it real quickly. We're about to go to a break. Some would-be sellers may be reluctant to move up or trade down, especially if they've refinanced in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's extremely necessary for home builders to step up their production of homes catered to buyers in the affordable price range. Otherwise, the nation's low homeownership rate will struggle to shift higher in 2017.
Okay.
And who are we listening to?
That's Domino.
That's Domino.
Domino on our
Domino.
Christmas rock and roll special on the Dakota Housing Network here.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
Right now, 34.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
My baby, she told me she don't wanna hold me and kiss my lips anymore. She's gonna leave me and she don't believe me that I'll be true now. Well, maybe she don't love me, not thinking of me.
All right. The Beach Boys, Merry Christmas Baby. Not the Merry Christmas Baby that probably all know.
Yeah, not the blues song, which we will probably get to before the hour's out, because there are several great versions of that song.
Yeah.
Springsteen, Otis Redding, Elvis, they all did a version. Chuck Berry did a version of it.
So can we just keep going for a couple hours and we can play all this? Or
Yeah.
Well, it's fine with me.
So we're talking about housing, and this is, as we say, the Christmas season. We're just a couple days away, and we've got always at Christmas we do things like we have Open Your Heart in Bismarck, which is a big deal, and we have the The Fraternal Order of Police do their Christmas shopping deal, which they had to do differently this year.
Yeah.
But
I'll throw a plug out. The Bismarck Optimist Club has
Bismarck
their
Optimist
gift wrap
had the gift
at
wrap.
outside Her Burgers at the mall, and you make a donation to that, and that helps. It's a youth-oriented service club.
Yep.
And actually, several businesses this year are doing a pay it forward thing where they are covering the gift wrapping for that day.
Yep.
And so the gift wrap is free, and all you need to, if you'd like to make a donation, you can. So get down to the mall and get your Christmas presents.
That's right. And Salvation Army, they have their big fundraiser with their bells, and the North Dakota Association of Realtors started what's called Realtor Ring Day. It's the first Friday in December, and now it's in 35 states, I believe.
Way to go, guys.
First Friday in December. The goal is to get every Salvation Army bell in the nation rung by a realtor that day.
You were way nicer to me this year.
Were we?
I got to go inside Kirkwood Mall this year.
Look at you.
With Perry Weeks.
Yeah.
But last year I was outside at Sam's Club where they don't let you go in.
Right, I get that.
So there was 3 of us, and it was really cold. So we just rotated.
I was outside last year.
We just rotated through the entryway.
Yeah.
5 minutes in, warm up, come out, next person goes in.
Yep. I had this year was nice weather. I always do an outside stint because Amy Hullett doesn't like me. Actually, I tell her to put me where you need me, and it's always outside somewhere cold.
Yeah,
which is fine. I'm kind of a polar bear, but the first year, one of the first years we did this, there's a new lender in town who we shouldn't name, but his initials are Travis Lang at Cornerstone Bank.
Yeah. Okay.
And I talked him into coming and ringing the bell with me.
Yeah.
And I said, dress warm.
Mm-hmm.
He must have assumed that he was going to be inside.
Okay.
And we were at the North Walmart, and I think it was 10 degrees with wind like we've got going on right now. Whoa. And he had on a jacket, no gloves, no hat.
Lovely.
And those composite sole shoes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And his shoes got so cold, they froze and cracked.
Oh.
So I kept shooting him back into the Walmart. He bought a pair of gloves and he bought a hat. And about every 15 minutes, he'd run inside and he'd hold his shoes up to the hand dryer, the hot air hand dryers to warm him up. Man, he was miserable.
Well, Travis is a tough guy, though. He's a wrestler.
Yeah, national champion.
Yeah, so he's a tough
guy.
Dude. But
Yep.
even the cold of North Dakota can get to you.
No,
You're not
and
prepared for it.
Surprisingly, he also coaches wrestling at Bismarck High.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, he's always been too busy coaching to ring a bell with me since then.
Uh-oh. Well, and a logical assumption, we're going to ring the bell at the business.
Right.
Well, some of the businesses, they just can't let you go inside the building, and that's the way it is.
So we do all this the altruistic time of the year because there's someone in California that's doing something interesting.
Let's talk about that. Billionaire.
Billionaire.
John Sobrato.
Good friend of mine. Never heard of him.
Is he really? Well, he is a real estate developer.
You went to different schools
that wouldn't
together.
Surprise me. Yeah.
John Sobrato is a billionaire California real estate developer. He unveiled a proposal this month to build 200 micro apartments for homeless and low-income renters in Santa Clara, California. Now, here's Santa Clara, California. This is also our friends at the National Real Estate Post, Frank and Brian, did a story on it this morning. Santa Clara. Number one, the median home price. Sale price
$1,000,000,000
in Santa Clara, California is $975,000, so $1 million.
That's for an average starter home, folks.
That's yep. Okay, the median income in Santa Clara, $93,000. There's a mismatch there.
There certainly is.
Yes. Okay. Santa Clara had, I believe, I read where they. Let me find this. Since 2012, Santa Clara. Their area built 779 housing units between 2012 and 2015 at the same time and added 17,921 jobs. This is in Silicon Valley, folks.
Yep.
So the jobs added are a lot of engineer tech people at your Googles and whatnot, but then also a lot of service workers. A lot of jobs added to service the rich folks coming to Santa Clara area. So there's a housing problem in Santa Clara like you wouldn't believe. We think we got problems here. nothing compared to California and that area of California especially. So Mr. Sobrato, philanthropist, he built he's worth like $6 billion. He is committed to, he's left his company on a full-time basis. He is committed to giving away his wealth totally over the rest of his life. He's divesting himself of all his money. That's what his goal is.
He wants to die broke.
Yep, he wants to die broke. And
that was Harold Schaefer's goal.
Yeah, and he wants to do good. He's just not throwing it away. He's trying to do something with his money. So he wants to build 200 micro apartments for homeless and low-income renters in Santa Clara. Now, Santa Clara has over 6,500 homeless people. That's their population, okay. 6,500. So there's a lot. He wants to build 200 micro using shipping containers, which are probably about 200 to 300 square feet.
Yeah.
And what do you do? And this is common. It's becoming more common. It's a tiny home concept, except using something that's already existing, a shipping container. You retrofit it to be able to put in a bedroom. You put in plumbing. You build a little tiny house out of this. Or you can put them a bunch together and make an apartment building with individual units in them. So that's what he's planning on doing. He has gotten... What he's doing, there's a lot, an area that's already set aside for affordable housing. Right now they're storing cars on it. A car dealer is using it as a storage facility for cars. So he went to the city council, Santa Clara, and said, this is my plan, this is what I want to do. And the city council they're fine with it. They're saying, yep, we work through whatever issues there are. This is, let's try this. I mean, basically is what they said. This is a good idea. Of course, we've got now an online petition to stop this from happening.
Certainly.
Because, the homes that are next door to this area, of course, are the $1 million homes or better. So there is an online petition. So Mr. Sobrato is going to have a little fight on his hands to get this project done. It will be something interesting to follow, but, really a creative solution to a problem for that area is let's take these shipping containers. We can probably retrofit them pretty cheaply and make them livable, especially in California. We're not talking about doing this in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Heating is not a huge issue, obviously, and whatnot.
Cooling would be the issue.
Cooling is the issue. But you can go outside during the day.
Sure.
It's a roof over your head at night or when you're not working. And that's what he's trying to get to solve this homeless problem, solve the affordable housing problem in the area. He wants to give it a try to see, will it work or not? Pretty worthwhile effort, I think. And I think it would be a shame if it gets stopped. It's hard to have a lot of sympathy for people that can afford to buy the homes out there, like for what they cost and the amount of money they're making. And what's interesting is Santa Clara County. Guess who they voted for? Well, unanimously almost for president.
Probably the Trumpster.
No.
Really, Hillary?
They voted for Hillary. It is a blue county.
Okay.
Totally blue. Not even close.
Have a blue county.
No, certainly that's the
Elvis is never far away.
Mrs. Clinton would have been all for affordable housing and whatnot. And the guys
she was affordable housing champion.
The guys on National Real Estate Post, they said, now, gee, who would you rather have building affordable housing? A real estate developer, a billionaire with resources, or HUD? Which would you rather have build the affordable housing? That's a kind of an easy answer, I think.
Yeah, who would you rather have pay for it?
Pay for it.
Someone else or you?
Exactly. This guy is taking his billions, and he wants to do this. And what he's going to do is he's going to maintain it with his own money.
Really?
He's not asking. He's going to build it, put it there. These people will pay rent, but he's going to manage it out of his own pocket and everything. He will cover what needs to be done to make this work. He's going to set up a fund to do this.
That's it's a wonderful idea, not my neighborhood.
This is no taxpayer dollars involved other than renting it from the city. And he's going to rent it from the city, the land. So the city is going to get some revenue out of this.
Okay, I can see the two sides. It might harm land values. I can see that.
Yeah.
And a lot of those $1 million homes, I can tell you, a lot of those homeowners are payment poor.
They could be, yes.
Well, it's an idea, and we got to try something because what we're doing isn't necessarily getting the job done.
Well, when you have how many homes that were built?
Or 6,000 homeless?
800 housing units built in 3 years.
Yeah.
And you added almost 18,000 jobs. There's a mismatch there in
sure is.
housing. So, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll be back on Dakota Housing Network. What are we going out on, Jim?
Bruce.
Bruce!
Right now, 34.
Stay up to date. The Red Eye Radio. Overnight on Super Talk 1270.
Well, look here, Jack is jumping down the track. He's got a rhythm in his feet, but nothing in his sack. He's a boogie-woogie Santa Claus.
Boogie Woogie Santa Claus, Mabel Scott.
Santa Claus.
Back in the day, loved this music. How can you not feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes you happy. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Dakota Housing Network. Merry Christmas. Greg, we were talking before the break about the guy out in California, the billionaire
Shipping containers.
philanthropist.
Yep.
Philanthropist. Easy for you to say.
Philanthropist.
Yeah, there we go. That guy.
A good deed doer, as the Wizard of
do-gooder.
Oz said. Remember?
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
He said there are people called good deed doers.
Yeah.
good dude doers. Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
John Sobrato.
John Sobrato.
He's developing. He wants to develop homeless shelter or apartments for the homeless and low-income residents in Santa Clara County, California, which is one of the richer places in the country. He's going to use all his own money. He's worth like $6 billion, and his goal is to get rid of all his money before he dies.
Is he young?
He's 72 or something.
Well,
I think it
that's
says
pretty good. I hope he's
72.
healthy.
Yeah.
Is he married? Because,
Well, I
got a
don't.
daughter.
It doesn't get into his personal life here that I read, but he probably if he has family, he's probably taking care of them already, and they don't need $6 billion more. So he said, "I'm going to use it up to do good deeders,
good deed doer."
Yeah. So anyway, but he wants to use shipping containers and. A little resistance from the community, obviously. But when we looked at the numbers, average home price or median home price $975,000 in Santa Clara County, median income $93,000. A little bit of mismatch there. Median rent in Santa Clara County $3,250 a month. Now, if you're a police officer, firefighter, somebody working at name Walmart, Kmart, whatever it might be, Target, whatever, providing services in that community, you cannot afford to live in the community you work in.
No, you got to travel into it.
Unless you got a bunch of roommates.
Yeah.
And the homeless population in Santa Clara County is over 6,000 people. So he's trying to address this issue of affordable housing in Santa Clara. And he is doing this with his own money. He wants to buy this land from the city, which already has a zone for affordable housing. He wants to buy the land from the city, put up the apartments with all his own money, manage it with his own money, etc. He will rent it to the people. These units are going to be like 200 to 300 square feet, shipping containers. And now that sounds like an odd thing to use for a home, but this is kind of like the tiny home thing that you see on HGTV. They're just taking these shipping containers, which you mentioned, structurally very sound, obviously, and design them into a tiny house is basically what this comes down to, or a group of them becoming apartments. Now, okay, so we hashed that over. But now you were talking about, you saw on the Tiny House show about in Oklahoma, somebody who's doing this.
Yep, a guy outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, took a shipping container and set it on a pad, concrete pad. Mm-hmm. Actually, I can't remember if it was just the columns or the pad, but it must be just the columns because it sat up off the ground a little bit. But it was well anchored, and they said that it would withstand anything but the worst direct hit of a Category 5 tornado.
Yeah.
So it was very weatherproof, and they were talking about it because it's so structurally sound you can cut a hole in it anywhere. Mm-hmm. So they took the doors off and made different doors, and then on the side they cut a big hole and they made a garage door type thing that can just crank up into a canopy over a deck. So they have a covered deck, and then the house is open to the outside, and it increases their living space. And it's pretty slick, actually.
Yeah, and as long as you don't have mosquitoes, that's not a problem. You know, you can have it wide open. in the summer and stuff. It's so you can be very creative with these things. And if you go out and look at this, folks, look it up and see the pictures of people that have designed these, like what you were just talking about. They just look like a modern architectural design.
Yeah,
is
they
what
look
you
nice.
can do with these things, because you can cut them and put glass in and make it very wide open. And that it's a small place, but obviously very affordable, because you said it was $10,000 this guy in Oklahoma did it for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that was his container. I think the total deal was like 15 is what he had.
Okay.
Total.
So he bought the container and then and then you also were talking about you saw this gentleman is doing this in Africa.
Yeah, I actually in real estate it's called GIR, Graduate Realtor Institute, and it's a 4-day extensive deal where you learn the intricacies of the business. And one of the things that you learn about is about housing. What is a house? What goes into it? What are the different things called? And the guy that gave that course when I took it, through his church, they built villages in Africa, and they shipped grain bins over there.
So a grain bin like we would
like
see
you
here.
see out, but they were just one lift high, so the wall was, I think, 7 feet high is the lift or whatever it was. It wasn't 8 feet, I remember that, and the roof. And they'd ship them over there, and they had an access door designed into it, and they go out and they would pour a circle, and just the curb, not a floor, just the curb around the outside, just the rim, and they would bolt this thing down to that. And they cut a couple windows into it, had a door in it, and had the vents working, and then they insulated it to keep the heat out. And it was a home, a nicer home than most of those families in that area had. Now, this had no plumbing, because it wasn't available.
Right,
And they had, the time he talked to me, they had built, I can't remember, several hundred of them in certain areas of Africa.
Yeah, but what a great idea, because really it's just better shelter than what they had. More protection, obviously, from storms, animals, critters, etc. I mean, a real good solution. And that's what this guy's trying to do in Santa Clara.
And we need to do that everywhere. In Bismarck, North Dakota, if you're making $25,000, $30,000 a year, it's very tough to buy a house.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at,
it's tough to rent a place.
Yeah, you're looking at a median price of over $200,000 for a house here, and it isn't the builders gouging anybody. It's just they can't build them for less. So there's going to have to be some out of the box thinking here coming up in the next couple of years.
Well, and this has been tried. They said Portland, Oregon is looking at this as another option for them. And also up in San Francisco, another real estate developer. And that, really that's who it's going to take, is somebody that's involved in real estate, that knows how to develop it, knows how to get this stuff done, knows, I got my contractors and stuff, and I can get this working and get it done. And up in San Francisco, a developer called Panoramic Interests, they're going to retrofit steel containers as stackable pod apartments. Because obviously in San Francisco, you have an issue with land.
Yeah.
Not enough land there. And, everybody builds up.
Yep.
And so he's looking at, let's stack these things. And obviously you have to build some structure into it with staircases and whatnot, I'm sure. Didn't see any pictures on how it can work, but that's the idea. They're also looking at doing something like a communal living space where they the developer out there rented a warehouse or bought a warehouse and put these containers in the warehouse, fixed them up to just be apartments in there, and then people share the bathroom facilities, etc. So it's more like a communal living space, which, that's, if you want to do that, that's okay too. Certainly affordable. And it's interesting, it's happening in California because that's where there is probably the biggest need for housing, and it happened in Africa where
it happens in Africa
because it's for the same reason.
It's a part of the industry that is certainly going to grow and develop.
All right,
so we have just a couple minutes left. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Jim, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great holiday.
Thank you.
All you out there, be safe. It looks like we're going to have a little exciting weather during the holiday season, but just get the cocoa, get an extra loaf of bread and quart of milk at home, and
And we'll be back next week.
And we'll be back
bring
next
in the new
week.
year.
Yeah.
Correctamundo.
Yeah. All right.